So, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Sunday, March 1st, and we have an 11-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know what sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap yesterday, we finished the month just like we started it, 4-1 on the 5-game card. Crushed it again, we finished February with a record of 95, 67-1 on every game played in the month. Up over 20 units, I was actually one of the hottest cappers on YouTube this month. I appreciate everyone rocking with me and showing support through all of it. I know this game isn't always the smoothest sailing, but with me, trust the process and we'll end up on top. I had my first play for the Spurs and Knicks game posted to the channel page. Like I always say, if my video isn't up by the time the first game is going, I've definitely broke it down in a post. In our first matchup of the afternoon, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers in Brooklyn taking on the Brooklyn Nets. Cavs are minus 585 on the money line, and the total is 223. At first glance, I wanted to just lay the points with Cleveland and call it a day, but when I look further, this one might be a little deeper than that. The biggest red flag is the Cavs injury report. Donovan Mitchell and Dean Wade are both ruled out, then James Harden and Keon Ellis are both listed as questionable. We just saw them get blown out by the Pistons and lose to the Bucks outright since Spider went down. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Nets win this game. One of the biggest factors for me is I can't ride with the public in this one. 88% of the money is on the Cavs laying the points, and 91% of the money is on the money line. If the Nets win this game, they're building a new tower in the MGM. I'm taking the Nets plus a 12 as my first selection of the afternoon. In our next matchup, we have the Milwaukee Bucks in Chicago taking on the Chicago Bulls. Bucks are minus 145 on the money line, and the total is 229. The Bucks have been hot, but this is probably the spot where I get off the bandwagon. Giannis is still out, and I don't know if I can trust guys like Kevin Porter Jr. or Cam Thomas to consistently get me wins in competitive matchups. The Bulls have Colin Sexton in the lineup and Josh Giddey running the point. Considering we're at home, I want 3 points in my back pocket. I'm taking the Bulls plus a 3 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in Denver taking on the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are minus 160 on the money line, and the total is 241. This is a rivalry that goes a ways back. My most recent memory was the matchup on Christmas Day. I had the Wolves plus 2.5 points, and they blew the cover in OT, losing it 142 to 138. Minnesota always matches up well with Denver, so I'd probably lean in that direction tonight, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at the total. These teams do average a combined 239 points, but the Wolves also have a top 10 defense in the league. Rudy Gobert is only out there to stop Jokic, so I don't see us getting over 241. I almost feel like the line is factoring in OT, so maybe take a look at some overtime bets, but I'm taking the Wolves and Nuggets under 241 as my next selection of the afternoon. In our next matchup, we have the Memphis Grizzlies in Indiana taking on Indiana Pacers. Pacers are minus 115 on the money line, and the total is 237. Both teams are dealing with a handful of injuries, but I would say the situation is worse for the Pacers. Nesmith is ruled out, and Siakam is listed as doubtful. I can't say I see a huge edge either way, but the Grizzlies have been playing through injury all season and have 7 more wins. I've been impressed by some of the performances from Memphis, like the blowout against the Mavs on Friday. Every Pacers game I watch, I'm sitting there wondering how bad it's gonna get. I'm taking the Grizzlies on the money line as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Detroit Pistons in Orlando taking on Orlando Magic. Pistons are minus 200 on the money line, and the total is 224. This is the type of game that the Magic can win. We're in Orlando where we know they play their best basketball, and the only guy out is Franz Wagner. I love Cade and I love Jalen Duren, but besides that, no one on this Pistons roster really strikes fear in my heart. I think Orlando's the deeper squad, and the last time we saw these two teams play, the Magic won it 112 to 109 in Detroit. I'm taking the Magic plus the 5.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Portland Trailblazers in Atlanta taking on Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are minus 210 on the money line, and the total is 235.5. The Blazers come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Charlotte to Atlanta. They got their asses kicked last night by the Hornets, which we were on, and all of their guys played over 30 minutes, so I do expect rest to play a factor tonight. With Jalen Johnson listed as questionable, it's hard for me to know what I'm going to get from the Hawks, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. I'm taking Jonathan Kuminga to go over 14.5 points. I used to cash with this guy all the time back on the Warriors, so it's nice to finally see him getting good looks. He's scored 27, then 17 since joining the team. If Jalen Johnson or Nikhil sits, we might be getting even more value. Lock it in. In our next matchup, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Thunder minus 1,000 on the money line, and the total is 235.5. The Mavs are still playing through a handful of injuries. This one is not complicated for me. The Thunder have SGA back in the lineup, and that overtime win against the Nuggets is the type of momentum builder that can send a team like OKC into a 10-game win streak. We did see Shea sit in that fourth quarter of the Nuggets game since he is just coming back from injury, so personally, I'm isolating this one to the first half. The Thunder should come out swinging, and the only way the Mavs are getting the cover is through the back door. I'm taking the Thunder laying the 9 in the first half as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Philadelphia 76ers in Boston taking on Boston Celtics. Celtics are minus 380 on the money line, and the total is 220. The Sixers come into this one on a 3-game win streak, but more importantly, this season, they're the best road team in the league. They're currently 19-9 against the spread on the road. The Celtics have obviously been handling business themselves, but 9 points is way too much against a team that's been as hot as Philly. Joel Embiid is ruled out, but they've gotten used to playing that way all season. I'm taking the Sixers plus the 9.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the New Orleans Pelicans in LA taking on the LA Clippers. Clippers are minus 370 on the money line, and the total is 223. The Pelicans come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Salt Lake City to LA. We knew they typically show up as favorites. Sure enough, they got the dominant win last night. I don't feel the same confidence backing them as underdogs in LA, and it also concerns me that Zion left last night's game with a sprained right ankle. Against bottom tier teams in the league, I'll easily bet with the Pels, but in a spot like this on no rest, I expect them to get dismantled. Kawhi and Benedict Mathurin are both playing. That's all I need to know. I'm taking the Clippers laying the 8.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Los Angeles taking on Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers are minus 750 on the money line, and the total is 234. The Lakers come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back. Not much travel, but they do go from San Francisco to LA. They blew out the Warriors last night, my only loss of the day, but that's still not enough to have me laying 13 points. I get that the Kings have been miserable, but I'm still a firm believer that the Lakers aren't a deep enough team for me to be counting on them to get dominant wins. Luka is probably the best player in the league, but LeBron's old and their second unit is full of bums. Don't get me wrong, I'm not rushing to fade them in LA, but systematically, that's the way I have to play it. I'm taking the Kings plus the 13 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. For me, this month is huge. I already had my biggest month ever in February, but if I'm able to do it 2 months in a row, I'm going to be in a league of my own. I appreciate all the support so much. Keep trusting the process, guys, because I told you, we're ending up in that win column sooner or later. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.